Senator from Nevada.
Thank you. Madam President, I urge my colleagues on the other side of the aisle to allow these highly qualified federal law enforcement nominations to move forward. In my state of Nevada, the position of U.S. Attorney has been unfilled for nearly a year. This position, while it plays a vital role in maintaining the rule of law and making sure that justice is carried out in our state. The continued obstruction of these critical nominees, while it impacts the public safety of Nevadans and impacts their ability to see justice served. We have a highly qualified nominee to serve as U.S. Attorney, Jason Frierson. He's a graduate of the University of Nevada, Reno, and the Boyd Law School at the University of Nevada, Las Vegas. He's a former Nevada Supreme Court clerk, and he served in the District Attorney's Office as a public defender and as a Deputy Attorney General for our great state. In addition, Mr. Frierson has a long track record of fighting for hardworking Nevadans as Speaker of the Nevada Assembly. I know he will lead in his role with integrity and a deep commitment to upholding the law as the top federal prosecutor for our state. There is absolutely no basis to delay his nomination and the nominations of other U.S. attorneys and marshals around the country. Holding up these qualified nominees does not help Americans. It only leaves them unprotected. We must rise above partisan politics and do our duty to allow these key roles to be filled. For all of the people from my state of Nevada, I urge my colleagues to allow the nomination of Jason Frierson and the other nominees in this block to finally move forward. Thank you.
Madam President.
The junior senator from Arkansas.
Again, I feel like we're ships passing the night, not getting to the point here, so I'll address a question to the junior senator through the chair slightly differently than what I spoke to the senator from Minnesota. If officers are returned to unrestricted active duty on the Special Operations Group, does the senator believe that they should be represented for past incidents of alleged misuse of force?
Senator, I will reiterate what my colleague from Minnesota said. I do not serve in the Judiciary Committee, and I do not serve in the Department of Justice. Therefore, I am not privy to the information that has been provided in privacy to the Department of Justice. Those marshals, if they would like to divulge their information, they are free to do so as United States citizens. But there are privacy agreements, attorney-client privilege, that is clearly not being able to be pursued in this fashion. So my opinion does not matter. What matters is the law. I do not serve in the Department of Justice, therefore I cannot answer your question.
Unfortunately, I don't have any information to divulge. That's part of my point. The Department of Justice won't tell them why they are not being represented.
The senior senator from Nevada.
Thank you. Madam President, I rise to join my good colleague, Senator Rosen, and my other colleagues in urging our friend and senator from Arkansas to allow the nomination of these candidates for U.S. Attorney and U.S. Marshal to move forward. And let me just start by answering the question that you've posed to both of my colleagues, because I think it needs to be reframed. I think the premise really is this. There's no doubt that your ultimate goal here, and you have an ultimate goal that you're trying to achieve, and I don't question that. I do question, though, the procedure and the means by which you achieve to succeed in your goal, and that's what we're talking about, Senator Cotton. Because at the end of the day, what you're trying to do is literally stand for U.S. Marshals while at the same time harming the U.S. Marshal Service by not allowing two nominees to go before and get appointed to the U.S. Marshal Service. Likewise, you're adding to that U.S. Attorneys across the country, including one in the state of Nevada, who are on the front lines of the law and order that we need in this country. As you well know, U.S. attorneys work with U.S. marshals across the country to address violent crime in this country and prosecute it, to address drug trafficking, human trafficking, murders, and so on. And so the means by what you are trying to achieve here is actually harming law and order across the country. And I don't think you intend to do that. I hope not. But that's what we're questioning right now, is the means by what you're trying to achieve there. So what we are asking for you is to reconsider. Because at the end of the day, and I heard you earlier, and I think you made some comment about saying, sorry, in your lawyers have to wait to get confirmed in a week or two. Well, you know better. These aren't just lawyers. You know U.S. attorneys across this country are on the front lines of law and order. They are key to prosecuting essential crimes that we need to address in this country, including working with our U.S. attorney or U.S. marshals, along with the FBI and other essential federal agencies. So I would ask that you reconsider the means by which you're trying to achieve your goal, because in Nevada, the position of U.S. attorney has been vacant for a full year. The president has nominated Jason Frierson for that role. And as you've heard, Senator Rosen and I both support this excellent candidate. And the full Senate needs to confirm him and let him get to work. You've heard his background. He's more than qualified for this position, which I'm not hearing from you that you have concerns about his qualification. But he is essential to ensure that we get somebody in place, confirmed very swiftly, so that he can get to work on behalf of the people of the state of Nevada and be on the front lines of addressing and ensuring we have law and order, not only in Nevada, but across the country in these other states. So my question to you, Senator Cotton, is would you reconsider the means by which you're trying to achieve your goal so that you are not harming those men and women who are on the front lines of law and order across the country, including here in the state of Nevada that we're talking about, and you will hear from some of my other colleagues. And so I pose the question to you, Senator, through the chair.
So if that's the question to me, then no, so I reject the premise of your question. I'm not harming law enforcement. I am standing up for law enforcement. Once again, if you deny 4 U.S. Marshals legal representation because they stood up to left-wing street militias, which may be unpopular in certain quarters of your party, then you cause every marshal across the country, for that matter, every law enforcement official across the country, to doubt whether their political superiors are going to defend them in the future. Look, if you want to have a broader debate about law enforcement, I can, but we're going to be here for a long time. It's your party that voted in lockstep for the First Step Act that let thousands of violent felons back on the street who have now committed innumerable violent crimes. It's your party who marched and chanted in the streets for defunding the police. It's the Democratic floor leader who blocked my resolution in the summer of 2020 to condemn the defund the police movement. You all voted in lockstep to confirm Vanita Gupta, the Associate Attorney General, who's responsible ultimately for these decisions. Even though I and other Republicans cautioned you she would use her position to wage a war on the police from the Department of Justice. That's what's happening now, and I'm standing up for law enforcement.
Madam President.
The senator from Nevada yield
Yes.
for a point.
Yes.
The First Step Act, the Democrats did the First Step Act. The Republicans were in a majority. It was a bill sponsored by Senator Grassley, Durbin, Lee, and many others. And who signed it into law? Donald Trump signed it into law, the so-called Democratic measure.
The senior senator from Nevada.
So, Madam President, and I'm disappointed because I hear my colleague, but he's not listening. He keeps continuing to use the same talking point that he's defending law enforcement, when at the same time he is harming law enforcement across the country. This really is nonsensical. It does not make sense to not only me and my colleagues, but to the general public that's watching. When we are talking about pointing positions to the U.S. Marshal Service, to U.S. Attorney's offices across the country, they're essential to addressing what we see across the country and ensuring that there is law and order. And so it's the means by which you're trying to achieve your goal which we would ask you to consider. And unfortunately, I'm not hearing from my colleague from Arkansas that he's willing to reconsider it and stand up for law and order across this country and support the U.S. attorney's offices and the marshals that need to be appointed. I yield the floor.
President.
The junior senator from Arkansas.
To respond to the senator from Illinois, yes, it's true that President Trump signed the First Step Act. The First Step Act was the worst mistake of the Trump administration. Yes, it's true that a number of Republican senators voted for it. They were wrong. They didn't start demanding that we defund the police in the summer of 2020. They condemned that. They stood up with law enforcement. I yield the floor.
Madam President.
The junior senator from Illinois.
Thank you, Madam President. I join my colleagues, the senators from Nevada, Minnesota, with my frustration as why we're here today. Today, I'm joining them in urging my colleagues to join me in calling for the swift confirmation of Chief LaDawn Reynolds to be the U.S. Marshal for the Northern District of Illinois. As a seasoned law enforcement officer, Chief Reynolds is more than ready to take on the challenges of this important leadership role, including playing a key part in addressing the rising violent crime devastating our communities in Northern Illinois. And yet, the only reason he is not already confirmed to this position is because of a hold from Senator Cotton, a hold that is completely unrelated to Chief Reynolds' immense qualifications. These qualifications include serving with distinction as the Chief of Police of Oak Park Police Department for nearly 30 years, teaching law enforcement officers about the importance of community-oriented policing at the Illinois Law Enforcement Training and Standards Board Executive Institute, and working to protect communities from rising hate as a board member on Governor Pritzker's Commission on Discrimination and Hate Crimes. Senator Durbin and I carefully reviewed Chief Reynolds' experience and expertise. It is clear to us and the White House that he is the best fit for the job. What we're asking for now is simply to let Reynolds get to work. Let him take charge of an office that has already gone without Senate-confirmed leadership for 4 years. We need to have a confirmed U.S. Marshal leading federal law enforcement operations to secure our federal courthouses and capture violent fugitives of the law. As U.S. Marshal, Reynolds would also play an important role in the Biden administration's multi-jurisdictional strike force to investigate and prosecute gun traffickers channeling deadly weapons into the city of Chicago. Every day, there are news stories of horrifying and often deadly impacts of rising violent crimes in the Northern District of Illinois. In fact, last year was one of the city of Chicago's deadliest in decades. But statistics alone cannot fully describe the devastation our communities have endured. For so many Chicagoans, the presence of gun violence is a constant source of trauma and grief in their day-to-day lives. It is painful and gut-wrenching to see this sort of senseless violence happen again and again. We cannot wait any longer to advance Reynolds' confirmation, especially not for his nomination to be used as a pawn in Senator Cotton to expedite a response to his unrelated pending inquiry to the U.S. Department of Justice. Instead, we must act to make sure that the Northern District of Illinois U.S. Marshal's Office has the leadership it needs to fulfill its mission of administering justice and enforcing the law. If Senator Cotton is serious about tackling violent crime and making our communities safer, then we must move forward with confirming LaDawn Reynolds to be the next U.S. Marshal for the Northern District of Illinois now. Chief Reynolds' nomination has my full support, and I request that Senator Cotton lift his blanket hold on the U.S. Attorney and U.S. Marshal nominees pending consideration before the Senate, including Reynolds' nomination. Thank you, and I yield back.
Madam President.
The junior senator from Arkansas.
We keep hearing that this is unrelated, as if like I'm upset with something the Coast Guard did, or that the Corps of Engineers want to approve some water improvement project in Arkansas. These are Department of Justice nominees, and right now the Department of Justice is not standing up for law enforcement officers by hanging these 4 marshals out to dry. That's why I'm not agreeing to fast-track these nominees. I'm not going to agree to fast-track political nominees while the Department of Justice hangs out to dry career law enforcement officers. I yield the floor.
The senior senator from Ohio.
Fast track? Fast tracks? Senator Cortez Masto said it's been a year since they've had a U.S. attorney confirmed sitting in Nevada. In Ohio now, it's been, let me count the days, 404 days since 6 million people in the northern district of Ohio last had a permanent U.S. attorney leading the office. And Senator Cotton, with his demagoguery, comes down here and talks about fast track. I don't know what speed they move in Arkansas, but I would not consider what we're trying to do fast track. They've been vetted. Senator Portman supports this nominee. But let me talk about that. So we know the pandemic's caused an alarming rise in violent crime, especially gun crimes. The Northern District of Ohio, which includes Toledo, Cleveland, Akron, Canton, Youngstown, Mansfield, Warren, cities in basically the north half of the state. The U.S. Attorney's has the highest caseload in the last 30 years, filing a record 846 indictments in 2021 alone, without a full-time confirmed U.S. attorney. Even before the pandemic, the district had a staggering caseload after reaching a record low in 2016 with only 363 new cases through, Senator Cotton, I might add, through the Obama administration. The number of new cases began to climb in 2017 at the beginning of the Trump administration. If you want to play those games, Senator Cotton, the number of new cases rose to 706 in 2018, has kept climbing since. Last year, 170 homicides in the city of Cleveland, where my wife and I live, another 30-year record, not to mention a surge in carjackings. We need to fill key law enforcement positions in Ohio, as Senator Cortez Masto said, as Senator Durbin said, and in their states, and Senator Rosen and Senator Duckworth. We need to fill these key law enforcement positions. I hear from Ohio police officers they're in desperate need of help, while we, through, Senator Cotton and others accuse Democrats of undermining police, or whatever term they use, a term that none of us use. And when we have supported local governments with more dollars so they can hire more police, while you oppose those same positions, as we know. So we're working with local police to get them that help. Whether it's confirming U.S. marshals, whether it's confirming U.S. attorneys. Thankfully, we have an extremely qualified nominee in Ohio that's ready and eager to serve. The only thing standing in her way is the U.S. Senate, and apparently the only thing standing in the Senate's way is Senator Cotton, although I'm sure somebody else would be willing to take his place. Marissa Darden is a seasoned prosecutor, extensive experience, lead attorney in both civil and criminal cases. As an assistant U.S. attorney in the Northern District, she was recognized for her work on several cases involving highly complex legal issues. She received the National High Intensity Drug Trafficking Area Award for Outstanding Opioid Investigation Effort in 2016, for Outstanding Investigative Effort in 2019. Listen to what some people have said. Federal District Judge, Court Judge Benita Pearson, you can be assured that Ms. Darden will fiercely enforce the law while treating all, attorneys, staff, the accused, and the community with respect and appropriate sensitivity. Former Acting U.S. Attorney Justin Herdman, nominated by President Trump, supported by Senator Portman and me both. U.S. Attorney Justin Herdman, the last confirmed U.S. attorney in the Northern District described her as an attorney of outstanding ability and unquestioned integrity. He said she's a leader who has a proven track record of delivering results inside and outside the courtroom. First Assistant Federal Public Defender Jacqueline Johnson, she told us this was her first recommendation for a U.S. attorney in 38 years of practicing in the Northern District. She said she based her recommendation or belief that Ms. Darden possesses the intellect, vision, temperament, and judgment needed to lead the U.S. Attorney's Office during this perilous season. DEA Special Agent in Charge Keith Martin, 26 years of experience, she's one of the best he's ever encountered, he said. He explained she is phenomenal in her interaction with law enforcement. Cooperative, stands on her principles. I can't imagine a better choice. It's because of these qualifications, I repeat, that Senator Portman also supports Ms. Darden's nomination. But confirmation would also be historic, making her the first African-American woman to ever serve as a U.S. attorney in Ohio. Unfortunately, Senator Cotton blocks his nomination in addition to these 8 other law enforcement nominees. By his own admission, his objections, these nominees have nothing to do with their qualifications. I support his desire to get answers from DOJ. He should get them. But the solution for his disagreement with DOJ is not that the 6 million Ohio citizens pay a price, or the millions of citizens in Illinois or Nevada pay a price, or Minnesota or anywhere. Last thing I'll say, Madam President, last week I spoke with police officers, one of the many kind of roundtable Zooms I do around the state. Police officers from around the state. One officer conveyed his college frustration with politics today. He told me that officers in his department have begun leaving letters on their lockers that say, if they're killed in the line of duty, they want no elected officials invited to their funerals. He said the notes don't say no Democrats, no Republicans, they say no elected officials. A whole bunch of the reason for that is the gamesmanship we see right now, that we're not willing to confirm U.S. attorneys, U.S. marshals, in many cases, federal district judges, just because somebody's been offended by the lack of a letter or something somebody at the Justice Department said to them. The fact is, we need to do this. It will help our states. It will help our country combat crime. Let's heed this officer's warning and come together to get qualified and talented law enforcement officials and professionals on the job. Thank you, Madam President.
Madam President.
The junior senator from Arkansas.
So contrary to what the senator from Ohio says, I'm not offended by the lack of a letter. I'm not offended by something someone said. I'm offended that four U.S. Marshals have to decide whether they're going to have enough money to buy Christmas gifts for their kids, pay their mortgage next month, put braces on their kids, send them to summer camp, because that's the position that the Department of Justice has put them in. To recap, 4 U.S. Marshals were among dozens deployed to Portland last summer to guard the courthouse from left-wing street militias. They were targeted with blinding lasers, ball bearings, fireworks. There was an effort to barricade them into the courthouse and set it afire to burn them alive. Now, left-wing activists and left-wing organizations like the ACLU are suing them, and the Department of Justice won't provide them representation, won't even tell them why they're not providing them representation. Maybe they engaged in some kind of misconduct. Maybe it was excessive force. That would be strange, because all 4 of these deputy marshals are now back on unrestricted active duty with the Special Operations Group of the Marshal Service, the element most likely to be sent into the most dangerous circumstances and have to use violence and include lethal violence. It would be pretty strange to send them back to the Special Operations Group with no restrictions if they engaged in some kind of misconduct in Portland. That's what this is about, and what it does to undermine the faith and confidence of every career law enforcement professional in the Department of Justice. So no, I will not agree to fast-track political nominees to the department when the department leadership is hanging out to dry career law enforcement officers.
Senator, yield for a question. I ask a question to the chair. Has the senator been given a privacy waiver by the one marshal that the Department of Justice is not going to defend?
No, I have not, but I know that the response that marshal received was that the denial of representation was not in the interest of the United States.
Madam President, how much time do we have? I'm sorry, go ahead.
No more facts, no more explanation. Just like the 3 who are waiting for a determination, have been waiting for more than a year, do not have any fact-based explanation.
Madam President, how much time do I have remaining?
The 1 minute and 13 seconds.
Madam President, that last admission by the senator from Arkansas tells the whole story. He doesn't even know why the department is turning down representation of 1 person out of 74. They have agreed to represent 70 of these U.S. Marshal employees, and they've said they will represent them, and 3 are under review. 1 has been turned down, and he hasn't received a privacy waiver, so he doesn't know why. I don't know why either. But you know who's paying the price for it? Millions of Americans are asking for federal law enforcement to be adequately staffed to do their job. The U.S. attorneys and the U.S. Marshals that want to keep us safe and be part of the team to do that. And because this senator suspects there may be something suspicious about this, he doesn't have a privacy waiver, he's going to hold up those officials throughout the United States and put their communities in peril. Tell me that that is devotion to law enforcement.
Madam President.
The junior senator from Arkansas.
This is exactly the point. privacy waiver or not, what does it matter? Here's what we do know. Here's what we do know, that none of these four know why they were denied representation or why they haven't had a determination. We know that, and we know that they were sent back on unrestricted active duty to the Special Operations Group. I think the Department of Justice political leadership owes these brave law enforcement officers an answer before it hangs them out to dry and exposes them to risk of financial ruin and bankruptcy.
Is all time yielded back?
Yield back.
Under the previous order, the question occurs on the Wallander nomination. Is there a sufficient second? There appears to be. The clerk will call the roll.
Ms. Baldwin, Mr. Barrasso, Mr. Bennett, Mrs. Blackburn, Mr. Bloom.